So we are going to continue now. I'm going to bring up a few questions for the panel. We are continuing to capture the questions. So in between your words and unconditional love, thank you, Connie, we can also continue to capture the questions that we will share with you now. So before we do that, let's just take a moment to express our thanks to Jean Houston, Alexander and Rama, and to Joussef. Just here, your hands up and waving. Let's see if we can get everybody back on the screen here for a moment, Sam. Just so we can all be here and see the gratitude of all of us here in the room. Thank you so much, because we are the ones that we have been waiting for, as they say. All right, let me go with a few questions that we have been capturing now for the panel. So one question comes from Susan Taylor, who wrote, it's a two-part question, so let me read both parts here. She says, how can so many people on the planet who don't have survival handled be participants in this new world? And she also goes on to say, wouldn't bringing people up from poverty be a first step? The have-nots, where the rich get richer and the poor get poorer, are more likely to produce revolution than enlightenment. I open this to Alexander, Rama, Jean, and Joussef, please.
As some of you know, I have worked in many countries and have also worked with people who are, sadly, as you describe. And everything that you suggest is true. But also what I have found, and nobody speaks of this, that often you have a community of those who are suffering, but also loving each other and holding on to life. And what I find is that together they seem to enter into another order of consciousness. That's the only way I can say it. We in the West always think in terms of they're not eating and therefore they're not living and therefore they're not, and that isn't in some cases that's true, but in many cases it is not. And I have sometimes found the deepest understanding, the richest knowings of what can begin to not just work, but there's a larger word for it, thrive. They don't think just in terms of working as we do in the West. They think in thrivability. And some of the deepest and most potent testaments of possibility with very real, hands-on, sensory-rich ideas comes from these people. Such has been my experience.
Maybe if you would allow me.
Please, Joussef, go ahead.
To come in. There have been so many prescriptions to address the problems that were just shared with us. From my experience, we need to approach whatever we do to help the voiceless and prioritize poverty eradication. We should do it with humility.
Yes.
And acknowledge that people in these difficult circumstances are not blank pages and they are not projects.
Here we go.
That every human being, however devastated, has developed human resilience that should be tapped. And they may, and they do have capacities and assets, not just needs and vulnerability.
Yes, wonderful, wonderful.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Going straight on and building on that wave on this very important question. Do you want to start first, Alexander? I can...
Oh, I always follow you, Rama.
No, not at all. Okay. First, just so deeply reiterating what Jean said, and all of us who have worked with people in situations of crisis know they are our teachers. what I do in my, what I've been inspired to do in the last 10 years after working for 30 years in peace, in situations of conflict and genocide, and in global governance, is simply give voice to those stories, because I've learned from them how when everything breaks down, they're not sitting there with begging bowls. No, they are creating the very systems that inspired you, Alexander and Anneloes, to design this conference. They are creating those new paradigms. The paradigms are out there, the alternative systems, the sacred democracy that exists between people who are not waiting with a begging bowl, but are actually continuing to live and thrive between the bombs, in the fires, in these places, waiting for us to take notice, not waiting for us to take notice, but hoping that we will take notice. And those are the stories that we are trying to share and spread and say, they can do it, we can. That's the first part. And I think the second part is, as long as we think of the world of simply helping out those who are in need, it's not going to change. And I think that's why your whole concept of the new paradigm is so important. Are we coming from a paradigm of the wholeness of life, of a paradigm of abundance for all? Or are we coming from a paradigm of scarcity and feeling we need to fix things? Are we coming from a paradigm of simply reforming, tweaking a little, so poverty is now 50% instead of 75% or 25%? Or are we visualizing a world where there is no poverty, where everyone is seated around the same tree, not the same table, but the same tree, and co-creating the world we want to live in, being the full future human? And this ancient saying, yad bhavam tad bhavati, as we envision, as we intend, as we wish and think, so is reality, which has been reiterated by quantum scientists. This is how we need to be, that if we are constantly just trying to fix what's wrong, which is what I did for much of my life, working with and around the UN system and with activists around the world, that's only half the job. The real job is what you, Jean and Anneloes, have done, creating that future, the new systems based on the wisdom and intelligence of people who have lost everything, are in poverty, but are so rich, as one of our participants said, in spirit and in wholeness.
Yeah, it looks like, if I may add a couple of words to this powerful question. Thank you for that, because I guess we are all here on this call concerned with the level of poverty and misery that we are seeing on the planet. And yet, of course, this is a phenomenon which we share. Perhaps not all of us on a material level, but the world is in profound poverty of spirit. And however, in a co-evolutionary process where we begin to see the other not as poor, but in a whole person perspective, and also in a whole culture perspective, we can find and develop processes to ignite, to use a term of the title today, to ignite processes of being inspirited to build up. And this for me is never this we versus them, or we need to lift others, which I guess no one here feels, but it's really the crafting of new co-evolutionary processes in which we jointly grow to a higher level. I want to bring an example in closing. We just a few months ago launched in the middle of rural Zimbabwe, in the most downtrodden area in Buhera, a home for humanity that comes out of a very poor homestead. Home in Shona means Kumusha. And by connecting to the original culture of that place, to the Kumusha spirit, in which the umbilical cord of that person, the originating couple of the integral Kumusha, was buried originally as children, they transformed this homestead into a flourishing community-based enterprise, now inspiring Zimbabwe as a whole. I can share more about that if people are interested, but the powerful process about how now a simple homestead in an area called poor and downtrodden is inspiring a nation and society. And I think these processes, which we jointly share in uplifting humanity, this is what I feel is vital for us to co-develop. And Jean, you gave us a big stepping stone with social artistry. Thank you.
Thank you all. Thank you both. And Rama, Alexander, I understand there are also some youth members with you, right?
There are.
Can you bring them in? Because we need more youth. We'd love to hear their voices and their understanding. Hello, welcome.
Hello there.
So you have both Elif, Dr. Elif Tibet, who made the film that you saw, and is an award-winning film.
Oh, brilliant.
Wonderful.
We have Arjuna. We have Kaisa and a couple of others, Sonam, Lotan's son, who is not in the room right here. And Lotan, would you like to say a word about sacred democracy?
Democracy, for me, coming from Turkey, is already a lost entity. We lost it, and maybe we never had it. And living now in Switzerland, every day my favorite place to be is the Bundeshaus. I always sit there and I dream. I look at the parliament and I say, maybe one day I have a chance in there to speak. And for me, participatory democracy doesn't mean, it means a lot about different voices. And even if we don't belong, that we should be able to participate, like myself, a migrant in Switzerland. And this is kind of my vision. And I'm very inspired through your talks. It was beautiful. And I really want to follow what will evolve out of this Agora and the sacred democracy that you're bringing in as a new paradigm shift. I'm all there with you and for you.
And she's a core part of Home for Humanity.
She made the movie that you also, the video clip of the Humanity Charter, just an extra edition. My name is Arjuna, and it's amazing. Thank you so much, everyone who has participated now. It's been so inspiring to sit here, so charged. The only small comment I will add is that for me, it is so important, this space, a space of listening, so that everyone has the opportunity to be who they are and to be accepted and to be listened as that. And this is what we should be creating, and this is what I'm trying to do in my life, in my work. Yeah, thank you.
Hi everyone, my name is Kaisa, and I'm sitting here in awe, just listening to all of you and trying to integrate all of your wisdom. And when I think of democracy, I also think of this participation, of course. And what I feel is missing in Sweden, where I've grown up, is for young people to really hear these things which you are saying and evoke that energy of participating in society. I feel that is very lost in my generation, and that to be part of these circles is so important for us as young people to really evoke that that energy within us, to be guided by you and all of that, all your knowledge, and that's my spontaneous thoughts.
Would you like to also hear Lotan, who's been an activist for a sacred activist for democracy?
Please come. Especially after that such powerful invocation you did. Yes, please.
No, but
It's sacred democracy.
Sacred democracy.
As a youth voice.
Yeah, sacred democracy. Because I heard this term just maybe an hour ago, the word sacred democracy, when you were saying. So I was saying to myself, wow, what a nice terminology, a term, what a nice, because I think that, I always say, of course, as you introduced me as a Tibetan activist, but I always say that if Tibet was free today, I would be today an animal activist for the welfare of the animal beings. And as a Buddhist, we believe that all human beings, all beings on this earth, not only human beings, but every being on this earth has equal right. So at the moment, I'm only limited ostensibly, outwardly to Tibet, but my heart, not only when I fight for Tibet, I also fight for the Palestinians. indirect or directly. I fight for all the Uyghurs, for every person who are oppressed on this earth. You know? But coming back to the word sacred democracy, is that I felt it so nice because we need democracy not for the human being, not only for the human beings, but for the all other beings, animals, who suffer so much because of human arrogance. So we need to have democracy which extends to all beings on this earth. That's only what I want to say. So please work on that.
Thank you. Yes.
Thank you so much. My goodness, really, it's a matter of overflowing here. I'm sure that others are feeling this as well, but there's this sense of being part of this new narrative, and it's an ancient narrative as well. It's not this necessarily a new one. This is the quest of Rose that Anneloes and Jean have also written about. This is the exploration that we are co-authoring together here. This is what the Earth Agora is about. This is about our home for humanity. And there's so much inspiration and aspiration here for us. And I'm not speaking just about me trying to get a beard here like Lanka has. I'm working on it. But the things that I think we are participating in here in co-creating are setting the stage as well for the next things we're going to be doing today and tomorrow. So I just want to invite everyone to stay tuned, because what we are doing now is really co-creating this big experiment of how to be the systems we wish to see in the world, how to human well together. And I just want to give a shout out to the audience here. We have a participant in the audience by the name of Laszlo, who is with us. I see him there on his camera. And I just want to see if he might have anything he wants to share with us. And if you do, please feel free to turn on your mic.
Well, I'm full of awe and admiration for what is going on here. This is exactly the recipe, the way to change the world, by creating local initiatives out on the periphery, perhaps, which can grow, nucleate, come together, and then change the entire system. There's this small group that Margaret Mead, who should be very familiar, of course, to Jean, said that can change the world. You can change the world. You can create a new culture. And the new culture means a new paradigm, the new way of thinking, new way of feeling, perceiving ourselves, not individuals fighting against each other for limited privileges, but individuals who make an organic part of a larger whole, of which are essential elements. Being together, yes. You are putting that into practice. This is the kind of initiative that we need. That's the way to change the world. And the world is badly in need of change right now. You have the key. This kind of local cultural group growing up, evolving, joining together, holding hands, that is the way forward. Then we won't go down on history, we'll go up to the next level of our evolution. I'm full of appreciation and love for what you're doing.
Thank you so much. Well, indeed, we are holding hands, and we have the group there with Rama and Alexander all holding hands, and this is across time and space. And this is the beauty also of what we're understanding, that we truly are not just entangled, but as Theodore Nelson Holmes wrote about in the 1970s, he says we're intertwingled. And I love that word, intertwingled, which is really the same concept as entanglement, but it's at the human scale, how we are intertwingling. There's magic to it as well. So I want to just turn it back quickly for any closing remarks from anyone on our panel, from Joussef or Jean or Alexander or Rama, and then we will wrap up for this for the first session, and tell you a little bit about the next two sessions that are coming still today. Anyone would like to share any closing reflection?
I saw there was one question to us saying, how do we practice intimate community over here? And I was reminded in the beautiful quotation Jean read from Jean and Anneloes' book, she mentioned a world we call home, which reminded me of the line in the Chandogya Upanishad, which we love here, which says, those who realize all life is one, see themselves in everyone, and are at home everywhere. And the only practice we have is that the moment someone steps in the door, they are family. Every animal, every being, and we have with us here, people who can communicate as well with nature beings and spirits, with other realms, but everyone is family. There's never been the same group of people twice in this home, but everyone has felt family from the moment they step in. And every home for humanity that we collaborate with across the planet, especially in countries in crisis, in war zones, that's exactly the feeling when you step in. And that's where creativity, creating the new paradigm, creating the new systems becomes possible, because you're seeing the whole, feeling responsible for the whole, and feeling so creatively called forward to create that new.
Building on Rama, and as our mic is open, I will continue. I also want to leave Joussef and Jean the final word. But what I would like to bring our attention and awareness to is this very moment in which we are, to my mind, co-creating and weaving the future. This is for me a living learning space of which we need plenty, and we need to evolve these. On our side, we are bringing these homes for humanity, which are now existing on all continents, together into what we call an Earth campus, because the existing university and learning or educational paradigms are not serving the purpose that we are evoking at the moment, or only in very rare occasions. And we want to step up altogether to create an alternative space, as so many of us do, of co-learning, co-igniting, co-envisioning, and co-practicing the future to become, in Jean's and Anneloes' terms, the future human, which is so desperately waiting to be born within ourselves. Thank you.
Go ahead, Jean. It's all yours.
I'm reminded of recent, not just speculations, but in fact affirmations coming from some of the leaders in the quantum physics, which strongly suggests that time past, time present, and time future are actually simultaneous in ways with our little arrow of time way we don't understand. And in this simultaneity, there is another level that is extraordinary, which also says that we are coded with some of this future time, not just a future time, because obviously there are many different kinds, and that many people are waking up from serious dreams with the understanding that they have the coding, just as when we were that little tiny dot, that little tiny fertilized dot, in our very first few seconds of being, that then was coded to create the ongoingness of the full human. I like to think that in times that we're in, which are always Renaissance times, rinascere, new birth, we're coming, that our codes, our future codes that gave us our whole body-mind system is also awakening, and is awakening for the whole human race right now. And what I see in this magnificent conference is the waker-uppers who are also going around and shaking us. Come on, wake up. You're not an encapsulated bag of skin, dragging around a little stupid ego. You are not the latest product of the metabolism of the galaxy. You are a person on the forefront of an awakening that will make all the difference if you dare not just to rise, but to interact with so many other risers to enter the great divine harmony of co-creation. It's all there for us.
Wonderful. What do I have left to say? Except perhaps bring up an additional advice that peace gave me that I didn't have the time to share with you, because there was only so much we could do in such a limited time. What peace has added is that in our endeavor as awakened human beings, as we look towards the future that is dawning, we must practice the art and craft of listening. Deep listening. Listening with the intent to understand, not with the intent to help solve or quicken the arrival of the future. So we don't miss those codes that Jean was talking about, and unawareingly leave room for the viruses of the dying system to unwittingly mine our journey towards that future we wish to co-create. So I just want to leave that with you, listening with the intent to understand, suspending all judgment and preconceptions. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Anneloes, we are at time. Do you want to say anything? And then I will let people know about the next session, and we'll take half an hour break. Anneloes.
Just my gratitude. I speak with silence. It's just so profound. I'm so grateful to our panels. I'm so glad also, Earth, that you joined us for these minutes. Just gratitude. Thank you.
Thank you, Anneloes. And what a pleasure. I'd like to high-five you, because what a pleasure it is to dance this with you and to just co-create. I think we are also doing that. It's just, it really is joy singing in my heart, as they say, honey in your heart. This, by the way, now, if we take half an hour break, please do refresh, come back at the top of the hour. We're going to actually experience the next session as a process engagement, not so much content, but we're going to explore, what does it mean to shift consciousness? How does that happen? And we have a group of leaders of networks that span the globe coming together to explore this process of emerging, perhaps, an interbeing. How do we do that? So come join the experiment. And if you want to see the schedule, I put it right here in the chat. You can go to that link and you'll see where we are coming up. And we'll see you back here in half an hour. A big thanks to everyone for being here, and especially to our brilliant, brilliant panel. Thanks again. See you in half an hour.